I'm out for another nice stroll out in this time up near Farringdon, between Farringdon and Swindon. It's a place called Coleshill, and I've come out nice and not massively early, but earlier to try and beat the midday heat. Well, it's 16 degrees now, so I mean I wish I bought a sweater, but I haven't. But it's not cold enough for me to go, oh, I made a mistake. But it's still summer, but we're coming to the end. It's still beautiful though. This video is about slavery. Now I know what you're thinking, oh god, he's gone all woke. I haven't gone all woke. What I'm going to do is talk about slavery as it actually was, how it happened that rational, respectful, loving beings ended up having the power of life and death over other human beings and their children and their great-grandchildren forever and ever. How that happened, the political and economic system that led to that, how that developed, where it came from. But I'm also going to talk about one woman and her property here in Berkshire at Coleshill. Now, she had other estates. Her name was Wynflæd, and it's another indication that the Anglo-Saxon women had rights that were much stronger than hold on, there's a buzzard. So she's a woman, and she holds several Dark Age Anglo-Saxon estates in England of her own, with an ability to dispose of it as she wished. And in one particular clause in her will, it talks of that. But she owns, there's two sentences that talk about, oh my god, now it's a kestrel. No, I'm too slow. Missed him. You do see different birds of prey hunting in the same area. And that's anyway. I've seen kites and buzzards hunting together. I don't know whether they're hunting together. They're in the same patch, and they don't seem to be attacking each other. Oh my god! It's a sparrowhawk. Oh my god! Oh, Jesus! I missed him and all. That's a buzzard, a kestrel, and a sparrowhawk. Bloody hell! Anyway, I'm coming to Brimstone Farm, and it is, just thought I'd mention it as I'm passing, and it's probably Brynny's tuna, or Brynny's, no, would it be Brynny's, or would it be Brynen tuna, something like that, or Brynna tuna. And that tuna or farm or estate very often turns into, no, it would be brunaise, because the tuna becomes stone. Yeah, anyway, arguing with myself. I keep getting told not to do that. But anyway, right, so I'm off. I'm going to take a right in a minute. We're heading for an Iron Age hill fort, Badbury. There's some interesting stuff about that. But yes, Wynflæd's will. Yes, she leaves stock and men to dispose of as she pleases. She leaves it to her daughter and various other members of her family, and releases some, manumits some people, men and women, for the good of her soul after her death. It's in her will. And what that tells us is, and she actually reiterates it, she says they must be released, freed. What it tells us is that it is not good for her soul to own human beings. So she releases a few slaves for the good of her soul, but some of them she's quite explicitly must remain slaves, and it's so even though it's good for her soul, it's there are certain things that are unchangeable. That you know, her soul isn't the only thing that matters in her life. That propriety and reputation and you know, respectability is sort of overrules all of it. A lady should have slaves, but it is there are we have their names. There are quite a few English names. For example, and Wulfwaru is to be freed, and she is to serve whom she pleases. And the next sentence is interesting because it says, and Wulflæd is to be freed on condition that she serve Athelflæd, her daughter, and Eardgifu, I think her granddaughter. So it sort of begs the question, if you're free, how can you put a condition on freedom? What would happen if she refused to serve Athelflæd and Eardgifu? And I don't know how to resolve that question. I am just an amateur, but it's interesting. Perhaps what's her name again? Perhaps if Wulflæd, which means wolf beauty, I believe, if Wulflæd, you know, served Athelflæd, you know, 4 hours a day, and the rest of the time she was free, perhaps that would have worked out. I don't know, but it seems a contradiction. But Wulfwaru is free to do whatever she likes. So there are English names in there, but there are non-English names. And again, I'm not an expert, but it's what I'm interested in. I'm interested in an older past to England, when it wasn't even England, the prehistoric and Roman Britain. So I was obviously looking for Welsh names. I don't really know how to define a Welsh name. There are some Christian names, for example, Martin and Joanna. Those are Middle Eastern names. No, they didn't come over from the very probably didn't come over from the Middle East. They were Christian. Now the Anglo-Saxons were Christian, but they didn't really use Christian names. You know, this high lady here with all the estates is called Wynflæd, which is a Germanic Anglo-Saxon name. But we also have names that aren't English, don't seem English to me. We have Elsa, Miskin or Mishin, Man, which is a noun in Old English, but I've never seen it be called man on their own. Sproul, that doesn't sound Old English either. Gersand, Snell, Beaker, Hisvig, and Bunak's son. So we might be saying, what I think we might be saying is British, that is Welsh, people who've been enslaved, or people from the continent, from the market. There was a market in slaves, I'm sure. Many of them were put on boats and moved around to different markets. But it is a very, very interesting will. It tells us so much about liberty, that women could be free too, and so much about illiberty, slavery. It tells us about what virtue is, that for the sake of a soul that she should release some slaves. We can't imagine how somebody could get in a situation where they could own somebody else, but it did. There is a process for how this happens.